Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep, really deep, into a topic that's, well, close to my heart, and I think it'll resonate with many of you listening. We're diving into the challenges facing African American boys and men.
hmm
It's a big one, for sure. And, to really get into the nitty-gritty, we're going to be focusing on education, economics,
Yeah.
and, something we can't shy away from, the cycle of violence.
Right.
I've been poring over these excerpts you sent over from Jawanza Kunjufu's book, Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys.
It's a powerful one.
It is. It's a heavy hitter, and I have to say it's pretty eye-opening.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to unpack some of these ideas with you, and hopefully, our listeners can glean some insights as well.
Yeah, Kunjufu's book is it's definitely a must read, and he doesn't hold back. He really lays out these systemic obstacles that impact the lives of so many young Black men.
Yeah, he really dives right in, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
Like, right from the get-go, he talks about this crucial relationship between mothers and sons. And, he shares this anecdote about an attorney, this woman, she's successful, accomplished, right?
hmm
But her son, at like 4 or 5 years old, didn't know how to use a urinal. And I know it sounds like such a small thing, but it just got me thinking about all the challenges, especially, for single mothers
Yeah.
raising sons. It's got to be a unique journey.
It really is. It's a great example of how Kunjufu uses those everyday situations to highlight these deeper issues. Like, he's not just talking about potty training, right?
Right.
He's talking about the absence of certain types of guidance,
Right.
that some young boys, they might miss out on. And it's not even limited to single mothers.
Okay.
He shares another story, this time about a teacher
Okay.
who's also a mother, and she's battling the school system because they want to put her son in special education.
Oh, wow.
And she knows he doesn't belong there.
So even when you have a mother who's educated, who understands the system, she's still hitting these roadblocks.
Absolutely. And he includes several letters from mothers who are facing similar struggles. He talks about grade retention, something he calls fourth grade failure syndrome, where, Black boys are disproportionately held back in school. And then there's the issue of motivation, or the lack thereof, as boys get older.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It is, and it just paints this picture of mothers fighting an uphill battle on multiple fronts.
I remember reading about that fourth grade failure syndrome in one of the excerpts, and it was talking about how that retention can lead to this sense of hopelessness and even like push boys towards the criminal justice system,
Exactly.
that's a scary thought.
Yeah. It really shows how these issues are all interconnected. You have these educational setbacks, they can have ripple effects
hmm
throughout a young person's life. What stood out to you about those letters from mothers?
You know what really struck me? It's this feeling of mothers being alone
Right.
in this struggle, trying to navigate a system that often feels rigged against their sons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like constantly having to prove their son's worth.
Their potential, yeah.
Yeah, their intelligence, that must be exhausting.
It's exhausting. Kunjufu doesn't just, describe the problem.
Right.
He offers some potential solutions.
Okay.
He suggests that mothers form groups, like Mothers Against Ritalin,
Oh, okay.
or Mothers Against a Disproportionate Number of Black Boys Failing Kindergarten, collective action.
That's interesting.
Mothers coming together to demand change.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It is.
But, okay, so let's say these boys, they do make it through the system, right?
Mhm.
Despite the odds. Kunjufu introduces this character, Marlon.
Right.
He graduates high school with honors,
Wow.
but he's still facing a bleak future. Why?
Well, Marlon, he represents a harsh reality.
Yeah.
For many young Black men, Kunjufu presents some pretty alarming statistics
Yeah?
about their outcomes,
Yeah.
both for those who drop out of high school and, surprisingly, for those who graduate.
Right.
The numbers are significantly worse compared to their white counterparts.
So it's like doing what you're supposed to do graduating high school.
Right.
But those doors of opportunity, they don't necessarily open
Right.
the way they should. College, that's not a guarantee of success these days.
No,
Trade apprenticeships, those seem to be hard to come by.
they are. Yeah.
And minimum wage jobs. Come on.
It doesn't cut it.
You can't even support yourself, let alone a family.
Nope.
So where do they go from there? What options do they have?
And that's where Kunjufu brings in this concept of entropy.
Entropy. Wait a minute. Isn't that like a physics term?
You'd be right.
Okay.
But he uses it as this metaphor.
Okay.
for what happens when a system denies individuals their purpose. And for men, he argues that purpose is often tied to being a provider.
So let's unpack this entropy idea a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Because you've definitely piqued my curiosity.
So essentially, Kunjufu is connecting entropy to this inability to fulfill that, that fundamental male role of provider. And when young men are blocked from achieving that, it creates disorder. A sense of purposelessness that can lead to self-destruction. So he's saying it's not just individual choices, but the system itself is pushing them towards chaos.
It's like setting them up to fail.
Exactly.
And then blaming them for it.
And that brings us to Jerome, another composite character Kunjufu creates. Unlike Marlon, Jerome, he beats the odds. He goes to college.
Okay.
But guess what? Even that path isn't paved with roses.
Oh, boy.
He's got a whole different set of challenges to overcome.
So Jerome, he's at college now, a place that's, it's supposed to be full of opportunity. But it sounds like it's not that simple for him. What specific challenges is he facing?
Well, I mean, first of all, the odds are kind of stacked against him from the beginning.
Yeah.
Kunjufu, he points out that statistically, black men have a very, very slim chance of actually graduating college. He cites a figure like only 5% based on his analysis.
5%. That's incredibly low. Why are the numbers so different compared to, black women who actually they have a higher college graduation rate than white women?
Right. It's a complex issue, but Kunjufu, he points to a few key factors. There are often significant financial burdens that black men face, and that makes it hard to stay in school. And, many lack access to strong role models who have navigated, the college experience successfully.
Right, yeah.
And then there's that issue of isolation, feeling like you don't belong on these predominantly white campuses.
Yeah.
That must be tough.
That feeling of isolation, that must be incredibly difficult on top of everything else. I remember Kunjufu, he referenced a quote from a book by Jacqueline Fleming where she talks about black men experiencing a depressed state on these campuses.
It's a powerful quote, and it really highlights that, that psychological toll of systemic racism. It's not just overt discrimination, it's those subtle messages, the microaggressions.
Yeah.
That feeling of being constantly underestimated and underrepresented.
So Kunjufu's analysis, it's pretty bleak, but he doesn't leave us just hanging there, does he?
No.
Does he offer, any solutions? How do we address these massive issues and help young black men succeed?
He does. He talks a lot about the importance of rites of passage programs, especially for boys who are missing those, those positive male role models in their lives. These programs can help instill a sense of belonging, purpose, connection to their cultural heritage.
It makes sense. I mean, if these young men are feeling lost or disconnected, giving them a space to connect with their history and learn from elders, that could be really, really powerful.
Exactly. And it's not just about cultural enrichment.
Right.
These programs can also provide, practical skills and knowledge like financial literacy, conflict resolution, even basic life skills that they might not be learning elsewhere.
Okay. So Kunjufu, he also emphasizes the importance of education.
Yeah.
But he kind of challenges us to think about what kind of education truly empowers these young men.
Yes. He advocates for what he calls Afrocentric education.
Okay.
Which centers, the experiences and perspectives of African people.
So shifting the narrative, I guess, from one of deficit to one of strength and resilience.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming their history, understanding their culture, and seeing themselves reflected in the curriculum.
Right.
Kunjufu argues that this type of education can be key to fostering that strong sense of self-worth. Yeah.
Racial pride.
It all makes sense, but Kunjufu takes it even further, right? He talks about changing how we teach to better engage young black men in the classroom.
Absolutely. He suggests incorporating, elements of hip-hop culture.
Oh, wow.
Using music and rhythm to connect with students.
Yeah.
He's all about meeting them where they are and then guiding them towards academic success.
I love that idea. It's about acknowledging their culture and using it as a tool for learning. But realistically, education alone can't solve all these problems.
Right.
Economic empowerment is essential too, right?
You're spot on, and Kunjufu is very clear about that. He challenges the black middle class
Okay.
to step up and create opportunities for young black men. Mentorship, investment in their businesses, creating job opportunities. He sees economic self-sufficiency as crucial for
Yeah.
breaking that cycle of poverty and violence. He even proposes, it's a pretty bold idea, an African-American Marshall Plan. It sounds like he's calling for a collective effort to rebuild black communities from the inside out.
It's a powerful vision, but it would require a lot of collaboration and commitment. But Kunjufu's main point is that, we can't just sit back and wait
Right.
for the system to
And
change.
take ownership.
We have to take ownership, leverage our resources, and work towards a more just and equitable society.
So it's about a multi-pronged approach,
Yeah.
changing hearts and minds, reforming policies, and empowering individuals.
Exactly. And it's not just about pointing fingers at, the system.
Right.
It's about asking ourselves, what can I do
Yeah.
in my own sphere of influence to make a difference?
I really appreciate how Kunjufu, he lays out these concrete actions that we can take. It's so easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of these problems. But he reminds us that every act of resistance, every act of kindness, every effort to empower, no matter how small, can contribute to positive change.
Even simple things like treating young black men with respect.
Yeah.
Offering a word of encouragement, showing them that they matter, that they're seen. Those gestures can have a huge impact.
I love that it's a reminder that sometimes the most impactful change starts, in our own backyards,
Yeah,
in our own communities.
in our everyday interactions.
Yeah, in those everyday interactions.
Speaking of impact, Kunjufu brings up this very important point about the role of spirituality
Okay.
in the lives of young black men.
Spirituality. That's not something you usually hear discussed, when we talk about these societal issues. What does he mean by that?
Well, he's referring to a sense of purpose, a connection to something bigger than themselves. He argues that many young black men are searching for meaning, for a reason to believe, a glimmer of hope in a world that often tells them, you're insignificant.
So it's about nurturing their inner strength
Yeah.
and belief in their own worth, even when the world's sending them, kind of the opposite message.
Exactly. And Kunjufu believes that spirituality, whether it's tied to, religion or not, can be incredibly powerful for healing, for transformation, empowering these young men to rise above their circumstances.
He talks about Seneca Shakur, and how he found that sense of purpose through his connection to the Republic of New Africa. It gave him this new perspective, a new set of values. Is that kind of what Kunjufu's getting at?
I think that's a great example, yeah. Kunjufu stresses the importance of a strong sense of self-worth, racial pride and that connection to their heritage. He sees it as essential for resisting those negative societal messages and building a positive vision, for the future. It's about counteracting those messages of inferiority and hopelessness with messages of strength, resilience, and possibility.
It's about helping them see themselves as agents of change, creators of their own destinies, right?
Right.
But we can't ignore the role that media plays in all of this. And Kunjufu, he's pretty critical of how black boys and men are often portrayed, right?
He is, yeah. He criticizes that constant portrayal of black men as, criminals, thugs, threats to society. And he challenges us to be more critical of the media we consume, to question those narratives and to seek out alternative perspectives.
So being more mindful, I guess, of the images we see, the stories we tell, and the messages ultimately that we're sending to young black men about who they are and what they can become. It's a lot to take in. But I appreciate how, Kunjufu doesn't just leave us with this laundry list of problems.
Right.
He offers us this roadmap
Yeah, he does.
for change.
His book isn't just a critique, it's a call to action. It's
Yeah.
a blueprint for creating a world where black boys and men, they can thrive. A world where their potential is nurtured, their dreams are supported, and their lives are valued.
That vision, it feels really hopeful, even though the task ahead seems, pretty daunting.
But change is possible.
Yeah.
And it happens one conversation, one mentorship, one act of kindness, one policy change at a time.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity.
Hmm.
and working together really toward a more just and equitable society for everyone. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. Kunjufu's book, it offers us this really powerful framework for understanding the challenges. But he also leaves us with, I think, a sense of hope
Hmm.
and a reminder that we all have a role to play.
Absolutely. As you process everything we've discussed, I encourage you to think about what resonated with you the most.
Hmm.
Identify those areas where you can make a difference and take action, no matter how small.
Every step, towards a more just and compassionate world, even the smallest one, it creates ripples that extend, far beyond ourselves. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it sparked new insights and inspired you to be a part of the solution.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing for a better world.